We thought we'd put together a little video on how we get a brace team going. Brace is a great sport that I really enjoy doing, and I think more the merrier. It's good fun to have a go, really, isn't it? So anyway, it's just a little video of how we get a team together. Cool, hope you enjoy it.
If the first thing I can say about brace running is check out your local psychiatrist. Make sure that you are ticking all right when you decide to have a go. It's great fun. I enjoy doing it. It's probably less pressure than singles, so it is good fun. This area where we live, there's been quite a lot of good brace runners, and that's probably why we got into it in the first place. You want 2 sets of whistles at least, obviously. I'm a very lazy handler, so I just have different flank whistles. My walk-ons and all my voice commands and my lie-downs are all the same. I just have different flank whistles. But my type of dog generally doesn't really flank that wide, if at all. So I can just give little flank whistles instead of walk-ons. So when you first start training your dog, or when you first start putting whistles on, think about putting different set on, but they want to pick something that comes naturally to you. For me, the left is generally a variation of, like die down, like his. And the right is a variation of, you know, the long one and the long low one and the sharp left one, and the variations of that. That's the way I go. Okay, so we're going to start training the dog a little bit of brace. Look, do this after you've trained him. You know, make sure he's fully trained to sort of at least a good nursery standard, if not sort of open standard really. Some people say that brace running can ruin a dog for singles. Personally, I've never found that. But I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just, you know, I mean, it's just how it's worked for me. It hasn't, but that's how it goes. But I would say that all these steps we're going to show you, take your time doing them. Do a little bit of brace work and then leave it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I think that probably, I think if you really went quite concentrated on trying to make them brace run, it could affect them as a singles dog. So all these little things we're going to show you, that the steps that I go through. Try and spread it out over a few months, if you know what I mean. So right, so you've thought of 2 sets of whistles. You can have different stops and different walk-ons if you want. That's up to you. I don't, but that's, like I said, that is just because I'm lazy. So you might be better with different ones. Okay, so we've got Joe here. Joe's about 20 months old. Okay, so he's on a set of whistles. And then the way I first start training him, so he knows his set of whistles. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get him to ignore the other sets of whistles. So, go. So I'm going to give him some whistles now, which aren't his. Okay? So the first 2 whistles I'm going to give him aren't going to be his. Now he'll probably set off, but I'll just stop him. That's all I'm going to do. So as he sets off, I'm just going to stop him. Hardly, you know, harshly. Just to let him know, hey, I wasn't telling you to go, was I? You know, just a little bit like that. A bit like I'm going to tell that dog to stop barking in a minute. Quiet! Joe, lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Good dog. Now I have been through this before with him a couple of times to make sure he was kind of ready. So you saw how he set off on that left. I'll do it again. Good. So you see how he's just jumping a little bit there. So I've been through this with him. So every time he goes, I probably should have. Quiet! Probably should have videoed this before now, but every time he was setting off, basically I just give him a hard stop, because he knows just not to go. Okay? Here you go. Okay, so all those whistles aren't his. So you can see how I'm giving him various different ones. Some of them are that dog in the trucks, and then she's barking. That's not my dog though, that's my wife's. All my dogs never bark, they're all very quiet and do exactly what they're told. So you could see how sometimes if you watch closely, you'll see he just jumps, but he's listening to what the commands are. So I've done that. That's probably about the 4th or 5th time I've done it with him. Now it's a lot easier when the dog's right next to me, because you know he's in that kind of that control sort of distance whereby I can keep hold of him. So if he was to set off a few times, if he was being, some dogs are a bit stupid when you do it and they're just desperate to go. Just a long line, or you know, just something, just stood on it. And if they set off, put your foot on it as well as go and lie down. I'm doing this without another dog here, because if I was giving, for example, if I was giving Moya, one of my brace dogs, if I was giving her flanks, which he was just I was giving to him then, and he was setting off, and then I was giving him a cussing for going, it would affect her, because she'd be like, oh, am I not supposed to go? So I'm just doing this while there's no other dog. I'm getting him used to not taking the flanks that aren't his flanks. Okay, so we've had the dog out a few times, and we've got him so as he's not going when you're whistling the other dog's commands. Okay, and probably at this stage, I'd even throw in the other dog and let the other dog work in front of the dog, and just keep him next to you. Here, Joe, just keep him stood next to you while you're working the other dog, so just so he's used to knowing that they're the other dog's whistles almost, or certainly that they're not his. Okay, so what I also like to throw in here is to get this dog to stop on the other dog's whistles. So as when he hears the other whistle, he stops. Right, the reason for that is that I don't want in the end it to be when you command that dog, this dog stops, then when you command this dog, that one stops. That's not brace running. Brace running is where two dogs work together. However, and so which means I want both dogs working simultaneously at the same time. However, sometimes things happen whereby you need one dog to do more work, okay? And what happens is, if you're busy commanding one dog, and especially if the sheep are a bit fast and run away, it's often the case the other dog will kind of chase to help. So for an example, and this is the best example I can give it really, so imagine we're on a straight fetch here and we're coming towards you. You watching are the handler, and I'm the sheep up the fetch. So we're coming down, but we're offline to the left, okay? So we've got two dogs, we've got a dog on the come by and the dog on the away. And we're coming offline on the left, so we really want to push them back online with the come by dog. So we're busy giving the come by dog its come by command, whether whistle, whatever that is. So you're busy giving that dog the command to push them back on. However, the away dog, although not really pushing on and working, is still coming because he's getting excited because they're getting away from it, and he keeps coming and putting pressure on. This dog is going to struggle even more, but it's going to take him even longer to get them back online because this dog is still putting the pressure on. However, if when we busily give this, and then what happens is you then shout at the away dog, or you stop that away dog because it's pushing on, that stops the come by dog, the sheep go even further offline, and then you start flanking your come by dog again, who then no doubt goes sour because he thinks you're shouting at it, and then it just all goes wrong. However, if when you're in that sort of situation when you're needing a lot of lefts and you're really giving that come by flank to the come by dog, if this dog's default is to slow and steady, all of a sudden we've really redressed that balance. So as this dog takes over, there isn't pressure from this side, and they can come back online far quicker. Okay, so it's just a good default setting. Okay, so let's just so we've got him says he won't go on other dogs' commands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flank him round, and I'm going to give him another dog's whistle. Okay, now I'm then going to stop him. Okay, so I'm just teaching him like you would do when you put whistles on a dog. I'm just going to teach him that when he hears that other command, he should stop. Okay. Lie down! Lie down! Okay, so that was a right-hand flank for Moya, that one was. So I gave him his left-hand flank, and as he was getting there, I gave him quite a big right-hand command, and then told him to stop. So as he learns that right hand or another whistle means to stop. Okay? Like I say, this is just as the foundations. I'm not wanting this to happen all the time I'm working them, but I want it to be in the back of the mind if I'm giving some heavy, especially if I'm giving them like quite a strong command for the other dog, that they slow or at least steady. It can cause problems a little bit on the outruns, because if, let's say for example, one dog starts to go wrong on the outrun and you give it a few left-hand commands and it can slow up the one on the right a little bit. Yeah, that's not ideal, but it's just what can happen. What you can do if that happens is you maybe give that dog a couple of lefts, and if this one starts to slow down, you immediately just give it a quick right. Okay, that's one way of doing it. So let's just do it again. But anyway, but like I say, this is just to get the foundations correct. Because if we have a dog that is thinking that the other dog's flank commands stop him, then we can really work on getting them to balance to each other. Because if we just gently ask one up, the other one will ease up a little bit, and then you can get them working together. I was always taught, I always heard the phrase that brace dogs should work like horses at a plough. So when you're ploughing with horses, or when they were ploughing with horses, obviously if you're on hillside or in your different areas, one horse has to take the strain and pull a little bit harder, and that's the same with dogs. So ideally in a straight line, they're both pulling at exactly the same amount of weight, but sometimes to turn a corner and things, one has to slow and let the other go faster so we get that turn, and it's the same with these. And by having them take the other dog's command as a stop or at least a steady, then we can have that balance change. Okay, so we'll just do it again. Here, Joe. One thing I would say is when I'm training brace, like with everything, I want to train on good sheep, you know, well-trained sheep, because we're training the dog, not the sheep. These sheep here, actually, they'll probably be a little bit lively. But for this exercise, that's not bad, because I want the dog to be a little bit excited, so when he hears that other dog's command, he thinks he doesn't really want to stop, but he does, okay? So, I'll probably let him get round towards sort of 12 o'clock, Ian, and I'll give another dog's left-hand flank. Lie down! Okay, so we stop quite nicely. I'll do it again now. Lie down! Lie down! That was good. So if you look back at that, as I gave him the second left-hand command, which wasn't his, he actually jumped a little bit thinking, oh, and then he was like, no, it's not mine, so he stopped. And I'll give it a right, see if I can stop him with that. There we go. So I'm just getting him. This is just an extension of what we've done next to us, which is to make him stop and not listen to that other flank. Good. Okay, so we just stopped there nicely. Try that one again. Good. So that was the right-hand flank for Jonah, and obviously Joe's left-hand flank. But I want to make sure that he's not thinking that I'm not working him at all. So I keep putting his own flanks in, so he's working. He knows the difference between his flanks and the other dog's flanks. What can sometimes happen is when you're working on them ignoring one set of flanks, you then give him his, and he doesn't work because he's kind of thinking, oh, it's not me working. So you've got to make sure that you keep switching it up a little bit. Good. Okay, so we've got the dog ignoring the other dog's commands and maybe even slowing and stopping when he hears the other commands. And we've had another dog working in front of it while it stops. So what I do is I'll then start working one dog in front of the other with it stopped next to me, and then swapping and working the other one. Okay, so they get into the idea of working and stopping and not working and watching the other dog work. Okay, so we'll just show a little bit of that now. Okay, so I've got Joe sat here and I've got Jonah on the sheep. So Joe should just sit here and not work and just be happy to watch him while I work Jonah. Lie down. 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 Okay, so Joe's working away quite well there. He's not moving at all. That'll do, Jonah. Jonah, that'll do. Jonah. Jonah. Good lad. Stay there. Stay there. And then I'll work with Joe. Jonah. Jonah. Good Joe. And the pitch invader Ember, she should stay there as well. At least she's not barking the truck anymore. So I'm happy, you know, he's not really working, so watching the work, but he's happy to let the other dog work. Now the key is to mix them together. So I'm going to now send him, and I'm wanting to start working like brace dogs. So one, just let the other one work. I'm not too worried about them balancing too hard yet and doing the difficult things of brace. I'm just wanting him to sort of be happy to let the other one work. Lie down. Lie down. So I'm pleased that because Joe stopped still while I sent Jonah. Now that's interesting. So we can see Ember, that'll do. Ember, 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 Ember. Stay there, stay there. You can already see, lie down. Because Joe was there, the weight of the sheep pushed onto Jonah and he immediately went onto the point of balance. Lie down. Lie down. So once I've got them to the stage where, you know, they're working quite well and stopping and letting the other one work and stuff, I then start to try and concentrate on making them work as a team. So I brought Moira out for this because she's an experienced brace dog. She's quite fat at the moment, like myself. Lockdown has been very good for us in the eating department. Okay, so one thing I always try and make a point of when I'm first starting them is when I set them up to go on their outruns, I'll make sure that they're just a little bit further away from me than I would do with a singles run. Because sometimes the dog will involuntarily just move and try and go. And you know, if the dog stood right next to you and just takes a step wrong, he's crossed. Well, if he's just, I'm not talking about 10 metres away, but if he's just a metre or two away from me, and it makes the dog know definitely which way he's going, just makes it a bit more obvious to them. Okay, so we'll see. Now these two have run together once before and it didn't go very well at all, so you'll have to forgive me if it goes terrible. Okay. Moya, Moya, Moya. Here, Moya, here, Moya, here, Moya. There you go. Joe.
Ember.
Joe. Joe. Joe, lie down. So set them up. Lie down. They're not a million miles away. Joe, Joe. Stay there. Stay there. They're just far enough away. Lie down. That it's obvious to them which way they're going. Lie down. Emma, stay there. One thing I'm usually rubbish at is getting them timing. I'm always rubbish. Is timing it right on their outruns. They should get there quite quickly to each other, and they shouldn't lift them until they're both there. To be fair, they're going to be all right at that. Okay, so I haven't crossed them this time. They've just got there, but they got there about the right time. Now they're just going to my left, so I just want Joe to go. So just at that moment there, they were going quite well actually. Lie down. They were going quite well, but just then, because Moya was just a little bit further back, Joe started to just go into the pressure that Moya should have been on. So at that point, I was just going to stop him quite hard and let Moya come up, because he was doing it wrong. I want to see the dogs looking for the pressure from the other dog. I want to see them working as a team. And they were doing it quite well at the top, but he was just getting a little bit, I mean, he's only a young dog. He's very early in his training with this. But because Moya was just a little bit further back, he just started to slip in. I was giving her a command. He just started to slip into the weight where she should have been. That's probably bad handling because I'd left Moya too far back, really. But even so, with a brace dog, when you've done this a lot of times, they should be looking for the other dog to take the weight.
Okay, so this is where we're up to. We've got Giona to the left there and Moya was to the right. This is about 5 weeks after the last video, so maybe a couple of months into trying with them really. And I crossed them at the top here. I try to cross them at the top when I'm practicing at home because I don't want to encourage them to stop short, which is something my dogs are well known for anyway, so I don't really want to encourage that, so I tend to try and cross them when I'm practicing at home. If you're at a trial and one gets there first and maybe you want to stop it short, that's not a problem, you don't need to cross them at the top, but at home I try to practice doing that.
Okay, so you can see there that they're really starting to hold to each other now. See Jonah out here on the come by flank. Lie down. He's really tucking in and holding the weight against Moya. A little thing I can do as well with my system. Lie down. If I'm wanting a fast come by from both, I just say the flank command. Come by, and then you get, you know, that bit of extra response from them both. Lie down. Lie down. Should drive your way up there. Okay, so Jonah's now on the away flank because I've let him go across like that. Steady.
So they're not supposed to actually go past each other when they're working, you know, cross sides. So a way to practice sort of putting them on different sides to do what I did there, sort of let them nearly go all the way around so as they swap sides rather than actually let them pass each other. When the sheep are lively, like they just sort of run up here a little bit faster than I'd want. Sometimes to keep them up with them, I'll just give them the inside flank and then the outside flank, just sort of to make them catch up with the sheep, just so as they stay in contact. Yeah, having the dogs stopping when you give the other dogs flank helps when you're turning as well, like at a drive hurdles. If you're wanting a turn like we just saw there, and definitely more impressed with them than the baby is by the sound anyway.
The baby's not that impressed. Lie down. Lie down. So they're going at, they're sort of driving the sheep at a real similar pace as well. Lie down. Just say that and Moya starts to go faster. So I'm really pleased with that sort of work there. You know, they're really holding to each other. Lie down, that'll do. That'll do, that'll do. Okay, so that's them two working a little bit. And that's how far we've got. And I'm quite pleased with that, because what I like to see is, I like to see when I'm not giving them much command, they're not trying to come into the 12 o'clock position or into the centre ground between them to take over. So they're actually holding against each other. And sometimes what you might find when the dogs start to really enjoy it is that sometimes they'll start to nearly come so far around they'll stop the sheep sort of coming towards you, because they start to balance really well to each other. Okay, good.
So that pretty much shows how I try and get a brace team going. If you want to have a go. It's just practice really after that. There's some other little bits at the end with the shedding and the penning and stuff, but failing that, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it.